Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Please do come and subscribe. I'm going to be making more videos like this 101 stuff about things that no one talks about enough, especially in an empowered light. So today we're doing screen time in empowered light for you as the parent to feel good about what choices you're making, not as far as what's right and wrong. Because when we go out and we listen to what some expert about the energy, if we listen to someone about, iPads are important for education or for children with autism, we lose our power. And so it's about coming back to within you to work out what is best for each of my children, because they're very different, what is best for our family and right now, and being prepared to be flexible with that and to call in wanting more. So we're going to go through a few little bits and pieces around the shadow and the light side, because there is shadow side to the screen time and there's light stuff as well. And so I want to look at it all, so then we can lay it all out on the table. You can pull the bits and pieces together to make your best decision for your children. So what we need to understand first is that we are in an era right now where us parents have been, all of a sudden in our adult years, typically, wow, I've got a smartphone, I can, do all this stuff. We might have come out of the 80s playing some video games and whatnot, but it's really built up. And so then we've also got this era where we're all very busy. We're seeing that we'd like to go back to simplicity. We'd like to go back to more nature. We want more heart connection, but we are practicing and we're unraveling that in our own time and speed. But for now, we have to understand that we are still busy parents. We do have those days where you go, actually, I would really like to put my children on the screen right now so I can get through the day. So the main part is to understand that, and when it feels right, to do it. But as I was saying before, to call in, I'd like this to be different. And so that's the big part that a lot of parents are missing, is to have the courage to say, I don't really know how to feed my child without the screen on, but I really would like the option to. I'd really like the universe to show me some way. I'd like something to happen where we don't have that. I see us in a different place. Or I'd really like to be less stressed, so I don't feel like I've got to put the screens on so much for my children. Or I'd really like to be able to get across to my children the importance of not having so much screen time, and being able to do that so that they start to get it. So instead of sitting in that place of, well, the speech pathologist told me it was good for my child, so then I went and did it. Or, okay, well, they really like it and they have big meltdowns at the end. So I'm kind of just going, oh, well, I'll just, do as much as I can and we'll see what we do. Lots of, all those excuses, the stories, all of that. Listen to what's coming up for you around it. What is the fear around the screen time? Because when we sit in a good place about the choices we've made, our children will react differently too. And that might be getting honest to them about the state of what it's all about. Hey, the energy isn't super great for you. It's not great having a laptop sitting on your lap for XYZ reasons. But I can see you really called to it. So it's working with them rather than trying to come against them. And so then you start to go, oh yeah, I'm getting a bit angry when they won't get off it. Why am I angry? Oh yeah, I feel like I've given them too much time. It's my guilt. Or actually, I'm not really sure how it's affecting their energy, or I'm dreading the meltdown that's going to come. Then you deal with that. And that's the part for us as the adults to deal with, not to then go and say, no, this isn't working, take it away, or I'm going to sweep it all under the rug and just let them have it and sit with my guilt, and then whatever the tantrums and the chaos that happens after. It's more about seeing that there's a golden path forward as you both work together, and really talking to our children about this. So spelling it out to them. Yes, there are some adults that got so addicted, they spend all day, all night on it. They forgot to go to their job. They lost their job. Whoops, they haven't even gone out and gotten food. And how do you think they feel about their life? And I know from my children, they say, does that really happen? I'm like, it really happens. So they can say, whoa. And then we start to get away from being the ogre that's telling them what to do, and actually helping them to feel empowered to see what's going on with it, for them to choose the balance, and us creating that beautiful space for them to say, I think, okay, yeah, that's probably enough. I can feel that's gone on too long. But when we come back to that, now I go on to the star children. So I talk about children and adults who have got more star energy integrated, heart or earth energy, and it's a combination. It's not just one or the other. But for the children that sit with a whole lot of star energy, they're the lighter ones. sometimes lean into the ASD, autism, ADHD, but there's just a lot of children who are very, very, you know, wafty. They love, you know, fantasizing, creating, all of that. They're the children that typically do have that affinity for the technology. And that's where we need to understand in this era, we've been brought up with a bit of, you know, it's not really that great for you in some lights. But we really do need to understand if those starry children have something on their soul path in as far as using technology, who are we to come in and say, nah, you're spending too much time there, out it goes. And some children, you know, that's what they need for their soul path. The other flip side are some of the starry children in their shadowy sides, as far as feeling stressed with the world, not knowing what's, you know, how to deal with things going on around them. They can use that as their crutch, like we would do with food or, you know, screen time, alcohol, all that. They might use that as their crutch. So again, how would you feel if you had that crutch taken away from you? And that's really not what we want our children to feel, is that really, oh my gosh, I don't really have my link to the stars. I can't really relate to people. My heart's, you know, struggling to feel the emotions and connect socially. And I'm not grounded, you know, I don't have that affinity with the earth yet. Then, you know, I call it like a child with no gravity. They're just wafting around and they don't know where they sit. They've got nothing to hold on to that's actually good. And so that's where we start to come back to looking at the bigger picture instead of the details of, oh, I know it's not really good for them, so I'm going to feel guilty, I'm just going to give it to them. But actually just to go, okay, yeah, my child is stressed, especially today. They can have an extra hour because that's going to fill them up to feeling more balanced. And then we come back to the same time, you as the parent calling in, I want a better way for us to be able to help them deal with their stress. Help me to deal with, you know, help them to, you know, get more grounded. Help me to find a way to open their heart more. And that does come back to the mother-child stuff, or holding space for the dad as well. What do I need to work through so that they can then energetically feel that as well? And that can be a lot of heart-opening stuff for us to open our children's hearts. So next topic is the heart connection stuff, right? So if we sit our children in a lot of starriness, so starry children sitting with a starry activity like a technology, then we start to lose them as far as the heart and the earth. What you don't practice, you don't get better at, right? And so there is that part of having to go, come on, let's practice going out there and, you know, liaising with other children. Come on, let's go out into nature now and really get you grounded and actually really take this seriously about, yes, okay, you've wafted off and your high's a kite afterwards. Come back and let's get you grounded. And so going on to all the children that, you know, have been given an iPad or whatnot, especially those ones, say, with autism or special needs, where it's been recommended through the medical path, oh no, it's really good for them. The part is, if you give them an iPad and there's no heart with it, it's still sitting in the shadows of the star energy. It's still a child one-on-one with a piece of technology that's really not doing anything for them. As you can see, how you hold space around the piece of technology is so important. And that can be you sitting there with them and looking at it, whatnot. It might end up being, you know, if it's really a useful tool, like a daily schedule or something, you're in there with them and showing them and actually making use of it. There's a lot of talk of useful apps and they're so great, especially for children with autism, but they're not actually used in the best way. And so it just becomes this thing that people think they should do, whether it works for their family, whether it's actually helping the child or not, and whether it's actually, you know, moving on to their bigger goal is to open heart and open earth energy, rather than, you know, getting stuck on, oh, you know, here's my iPad, I'm going to spend more time. So I really want you to question. I did, as a speech pathologist, I worked for a long time with children with disabilities. What are the point of these apps? Everyone said they were great, but what is the actual point? And could you teach that in a better way if you were with the child, with another human with heart, doing it functionally out in nature? Ideally, that is the best way forward, not sitting on a computer and justifying, oh, it's a good way to learn. And then we get into that side of things, as far as I really recommend reading the Anastasia books. You can look them up. It's the Ringing Cedars series. And she is channeling down very pure messages and around how the technocratic world will always lead us to a bit of a, for humanity, it's only going to be when we get back into respecting the universe and its laws, especially with nature and the intelligence there, rather than, you know, the fake intelligence. That's when the earth is going to thrive. So I know a lot of you that follow me will probably resonate with that. And so that's me playing around with that, you know, going, oh, okay, how are we going to live life? You know, what if I didn't have this screen? Oh, yeah, I do want to see more people face to face. Oh, yeah, you know, we could do all sorts of things. Oh, yeah, we could actually open our starry intuitive abilities as far as astral travel, you know, mental telepathy, all of that, that makes it so possible to do a lot of stuff without having any technology in our life. And that's the important part for the starry children, is to really to have parents to see that they don't necessarily have to go the technology path just because they're bright and just because they're good with technology, science, maths. What about their intuitive side? And that's the side that I'm holding space for my Hayden. He's very bright academically, but also he has a good link to the stars. Also, he astral projects. Which way is he going to go forward? He could virtually go either way right now. And so I see it as truth that, you know, going with the nature is the best way, and the universal laws. And so that really comes back to how much technology time is actually that great. But we look at all the other factors too. If I'm having a bad day, it's better that I put them on there and give them that time so that I can come back to balance. We're in this era of still busy, still working stuff out, still calling in better ways rather than feeling like we have to make the better way right now. That just doesn't work, unfortunately. So the slow path, and the slow, easy, graceful path, the golden path forward. And that's not to say making excuses and justifications why you should have your child on technology all the time either. So as you can see, it really comes back to tuning in what's right now, what feels good, what feels not so good, and really getting honest with that with each child in your family, because there are different children, and the earthier ones, or the ones with more heart, they're quite happy to go and play with the neighbors or play out in nature. They don't need to be pulled in here, have your screen time, even if a sibling is. And that's a big one as well, as really showing them, stay in your lane. This is what lights you up. Stop feeling like you've got to come over here and dip into technology if it actually doesn't light you up. We're all individuals, and that's how we should be working our family, is that everyone sees each other on their own individual path forward. So that's pretty much it. Oh, one last thing, as I will say again, around that, you know, what are you using the technology for? I've had lots of them over the years. You know, I've got a fussy eater. The only way they eat is in front of the TV. Other specific examples, like, you know, my child's learning to crawl. They've got a disability. They're already delayed, and they crawl, you know, towards the screen and nothing else. So then you go, well, of course, what is your goal? If the goal is, I really want to get my child's taste buds going right now and getting into veggies, give them the screen, make it work and go for it, but call in, hey, the screen's going to be gone before long. Slowly, when they're eating the veggies, then we can start to fade that out when things are less stressful. Same thing, I want them to crawl right now, but I really would love them to have other motivators. What could it be? Show me, and keep asking the universal guides to show you better answers, because that's how we start to move forward in an even better way. And you can start to do awesome things with your children when you're talking about this and saying, I see a better way, I see a better path. Do you see it for yourself? How does this feel? And getting them to feel into what they're watching, what they're playing, and sensing the vibe from it. I talk to my children about Dr. Emoto, and, you know, water can sense emotions, and we've shown them, you know, it shows up, the crystals in the water are very different with love versus anger. So the water in our body right now, how is it reacting to that stuff that's coming out of the screen? And you can feel it. You know, I say it's chaotic, isn't it? That's making you ultimately feel chaotic on the inside. And that's why you get up from the chair and, you know, go crazy and stuff, because it's actually projecting stuff into you. Do you want that? Versus, and you can pick something else. How do you feel, you know, when you've come in from the beach or you've come in from playing outside? I feel different. And so you're showing them themselves how to feel what's not so great. And that's all you can do, is planting seeds. If they still have to watch the TV, because sometimes we brought them up to feel like they should, and that's, you know, and all, you know, we're doing it for our own stress, then go with that. But keep talking out loud anyway. Keep talking about the truth. Laugh about it. I say to my children, look, you're going to go fry your brains again. We all have a laugh, even though it's true. I'm like, you're just sitting there, you know, absorbing someone else's stuff instead of creating your own stuff. And really getting out into, you know, working with the universal laws, out in nature, really seeing your path forward. But yeah, so lots of different facets to look at. Please do consider it in your own empowered light before you take on anyone else's opinions, thoughts, research. pathways, the whole thing. It really doesn't matter what anyone else says to you. If it feels right for you, especially in this moment right now, then feel good about it, because when you feel good about it, then you are more likely to have a much better family unit, and you can convey that to your children in a better way as well. So please do leave me a comment or a question, any other topics you'd like me to cover. Please do come along and look at my New Children Healing Sanctuary. You can join. It's open now until March 2020, and then the doors open every season to come and join in. So if you'd like to be in a community with people like us that are talking about all this stuff and really getting honest, looking at everything in an empowered light with love, doing it together, you have access to all my courses that I've got out there so far. Yeah, have a look at the link and you can sign up. Otherwise, do subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.